more seconds, we can think about our classroom and start contributing.
We would request you to use the link given in the chat box to share your responses on the Padlet, please.
Okay, we already have an answer. Yellow, as it is very bright and vibrant. Okay. Red, very active and meaningfully noisy. Okay. Miss Veena, I am curious to know which one is your color.
Ma'am, based on the fact that ESL is all about growth and learning something new, I think I would pick green. What about you, Miss Akanksha?
I think green is a good choice, but I'm not very much of a green person. Maybe orange is my color because it's related to growth, it's related to all the chaos, but still beautiful.
That's a wonderful choice.
Okay, we have another one, white, as it symbolizes peace and calmness. That's the kind of classroom we're all aiming for, isn't it?
Indeed.
Okay, blue, openness and freshness. That's some fresh perspective. Maybe let's go for one more answer. Red, full of positive energy and ready to grow. That's beautiful. That's beautifully done. Okay, I'll just take a moment to move on here, and I thank all of you for participating. Uh, this might look a lot of content on the screen, and because of the posters being all full of popping out words, we are just going to take a little amount of time and discuss which practices we consider as belonging to differentiation and the ones that we do not see as a part of differentiation or strategies related to it. Now, that we feel more connected to our classroom and students, I'm sure we'll agree that we have quite a variety of students with us. They all behave differently, have different levels of proficiency, and react differently in similar situations, and have their own unique way of learning. So, how do we ensure that we are reaching each one of them when we are interacting with them in the class? How do we know that each student is walking back with an understanding we wanted them to have at the beginning of the lesson? And while we are mentally answering this question, I am sure we are majorly thinking about differentiation. Now, there is no patented formula to differentiate, or we all would have been doing that thing in our classes already. But with experience and sharing and learning, all of us, all educators, have our go to strategies to target every learner in our classroom. So, here I'm just going to discuss a few strategies which are differentiation and which are not. The green poster on the right side shows a few ways to differentiate and what exactly are we doing when we are differentiating. So we are differentiating every time we are planning, keeping in mind the diverse group of students we have in our classroom, engaging them in different tasks, maybe, and activities which support their curiosities and interests while learning the subject content in another way of effective differentiation. We as educators, I believe, support our students' learning when we understand their diverse learning needs and plan accordingly and have a student focused lens to look at the curriculum. We target the weak areas of our students for improvement and guide them using their strong areas effectively when we differentiate. So, all these strategies actually revolve around a very commonly used strategy, which is flexible grouping and different activities. I'm sure we all have tried that in our classroom. We all want to do it, and we all have ready strategies to go with our content. And we provide our students with different learning environments which support peer learning, collaboration, individual learning, and definitely differentiation. Now, on the red poster on the left hand side, we are looking at what is not differentiation. Often planning around the needs of our low performers, we tend to dumb down our teaching activities. And as a compensation, we tend to give maybe an extra worksheet or an extended task, maybe of the same level to the high performers. And what that does is it makes the concept, the task, the class, everything boring and too easy for the high performing student, while we are focusing on the low performers. We are not differentiating if our teaching is not compatible with our subject standards, or every group work or every individual instruction or a private extra class does not mean differentiation. I would take a moment here to bust the myth that differentiation is for gifted students. This is my favorite one because often we sideline ourselves and not think about differentiation, just thinking that, oh, it's just for gifted students, it's not for the rest of the class. But if we recall what we discussed with the green poster, differentiation is a strategy to identify the learning barriers of all the students in our class. And it is to help all the students achieve a higher mark of performance than just giving a different kind of task to the gifted students. Moving on, we will be discussing entry points in the ESL curriculum for differentiation. So there are four ways to differentiate, often used in combination or in isolation, but usually not recommended to be used all together. So through content, we can differentiate when we plan the lesson content according to the level of the learners. This is where we also attempt to close in the gaps in prior knowledge of the students. Through process, we can differentiate when we allow our students access to the same concept in different ways. An example would be a situation when one student maybe reads a poem in the printed form and another hears it from a video. Through product, we can differentiate when the students get to show their understanding of a concept in different ways. By differentiating the end product, we keep the students engaged and interested and motivated to understand. We clarify doubts and perform and let the students perform to their best of the capability. Lastly, differentiating through environment. This is the most interesting one and actually the most fun as well. This includes different strategies of grouping the students according to the task or content. Even better if these groupings are fluid and flexible and approximate real life situations. So whenever you're taking them outside the classroom for any real life interaction and allowing the content to flow in, that is, we are differentiating with environment in our mind. Now that we have discussed quite a bit about differentiation, I am going to leave you with this video on how to differentiate in practice in the classroom. This video is about 4.5 minutes and it shows the implementation of the station rotation model, though in a primary grade level, but it's a classic example.
Miss Akanksha, I think I'd like to bring this to your notice that the video is not yet audible.
Oh, Uh, let me just check it once more. Maybe we can replay it.
Yes.
With a whole group lesson. So let's get our reading glasses on.
Yes, ma'am. It is audible now.
Our brains activated. This section of our curriculum, we have been looking at nonfiction texts. When we're looking at our book today, we're going to be thinking about where we can get information. And then in the phonics realm, we focused on contractions. We're taking two words, and what are we sticking them together with? Apostrophe. Yes, Karen. And then we break off into our small groups. So our yellow group is still learning how to do a lot of our literacy things. The green group is doing pretty well, but has a few things to work on still. And our blue group is hitting all the first grade standards and needs to be stretched. So our differentiation kind of takes two forms. The first is by student grouping, and the second is by modality of learning. We have 20 minutes per station, and there are 3 of the stations. The students will rotate through all 3 stations each day.
So our first station for the blue group is the computer station.
The students use a Google form to check in. They'll normally watch a video or carefully observe a photograph and answer some questions about that.
Hello, beautiful man. I love the favorite part and why.
After they finish that form, they can check out an ebook.
And then you could do this game of reading called Teacher Master How to Read.
We're delivering things in a way that is visual, that is auditory, that is individual to the students through the technology.
After that, she rings the bell.
Clean up, switch up, first grade readers.
We switch to the sort station.
Our sort station is more of a physical modality. They're using their bodies, which is so important for first graders. They need to move. Kids are cutting out the words. They're gluing them down.
We had a contrasting game. It's fun because it's all mixed up and it had to find the right pieces. And then after we do that, we do rainbow writing.
That's another way that we differentiate. If students are able to get through more work, then they have some freedom of choice. Clean it up, switch it up. The last station, we're talking to each other and learning from each other. So that's more of the social interaction type of modality.
I like the teacher station because we get to view Miss Gallagher and we get to learn cool stuff.
So take a look at the illustrations on this page. Right? Now, the content is the same, but it can be differentiated in a number of ways. My blue group, for example, they know what text is. They know what illustrations are. And so for them, I create a Venn diagram.
You need to make one circle like this, and then you make another circle over that.
Oh, for the yellow or the green group, I'm just leaving the Venn diagram out of it. We're still doing essentially the same thing, but just that piece that might be confusing to some of those students, I just leave that out for a later time. They'll get to it. All right, so clean up and meet me in the middle of the rug for writing. Nice work, first grade.
Being able to move through those stations, it's just another level of helping the students learn as much as they can each year. They really feel excited when they make that growth.
They're proud of themselves. They feel like they're effective learners. As a teacher, honestly, it is a lot of work, but the results that you see and the happy faces of the kids and the good feeling that you have in the classroom is worth it.
Okay, moving on, I would ask you to take a minute here and reflect on what differentiation looks like in your ESL classroom. You could cite an example from your teaching, or maybe discuss something you plan to do later on, or maybe just a quote that inspires you and kind of drives your planning. Please use the link here in the chat box to answer this prompt, or you could raise your hand and talk about it, whichever way you feel more confident. Just to make sure that we know how to get into this page, when you click this link, there's a code that you need to enter, and the code is here in the chat box also. Please click on this link and enter the code, and it will direct you to this page, and you can start posting. Again, what does differentiation look like in your ESL classroom?
The code is 2124875. Is that the code?
Yes, sir. That's the one.
So, Ms. Akanksha, a quote that I really like about diversity and differentiation is diversity and inclusion are about giving value to every human being, no matter what our differences. I feel that this quote resonates a lot with me and also as a human and also as an ESL teacher.
That's indeed definitely a very beautiful quote, Ms. Veena. All we are trying to do with differentiation in our classroom is trying to target all the students and trying to get to the root of their learning barriers and help them out. Not really focusing on a chunk of students that we would rather prefer, or maybe giving extra classes to another chunk because that's what they need. Sometimes that's what we all think, but that's not what it is.
Here in the chat box, it says someone has beautifully said that differentiation is about love and respect amongst all. It's short but very appropriate.
So true. Maybe we could have more participants sharing their thoughts, what differentiation looks like in their classroom, what is one activity they would like to share, or maybe talk about something that they saw in a colleague's classroom. That also works.
I just sent that one. Where did it will go? I just submitted one.
So it's going to show on the screen. Probably it's just taking some time. Let me just check.
I already did. I already submitted it.
Oh, lovely responses are here on Menti. I can see a lot of lovely responses. Someone's talking about how the classroom is active and noisy, and someone else is talking about short sentences and how the awareness of key terms is very present. I can see a lot of supportive learning environment, varied instructions, strategies, various resources. Of course, it also talks about differentiation in understanding and grasping the concept. So we can see a lot of beautiful responses on the Mentimeter here.
Oh, these are wonderful. Okay, I think maybe the embedding didn't work, as I expected, but yes, definitely some beautiful answers here.
Yes, definitely, ma'am.
Okay, are they still coming in, Ms. Veena? I'm sorry, I cannot see them.
They are still coming in. Let's give it a minute, and I will also paste an image in the chat box for anyone who would like to see how it is looking, how the Mentimeter is looking right now.
Definitely.
Also in the chat box, one of our guests has beautifully said that acceptance of different cultures and delighting it with all that they have to offer. That is absolutely true. We need the whole package. We cannot pick and choose. Beautiful, beautiful responses.
There's one more. We are unique and special, which has to be respected. I really like this one. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in these great inputs.
I don't think so. Mine has come up yet there.
Would you like to
Okay,
share it?
I just shared in that one like what differentiate how what I take differentiation as is
Mm-hmm.
differentiate like many people that think that we have to teach something different to the people there, but differentiation actually is just meeting the need of individual child. We are teaching the same to the child, same thing to the child, but in a different way. Our approach is different by keeping in mind his learning ability. So, like for example, some people have said it very good, like about the individual differences and then the culture. But like some culture, how that culture will accept that particular knowledge, you are changing your teaching methodology in that way. That is the best differentiation that you can do in your classrooms.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so for sharing. That's really a beautiful insight. Okay, next, let's stop for a while here before we take a bigger leap and move on from differentiation and think about the role of culture in our education. As Mr. Devinder rightly put it, that plays a very important role in our classroom. And also with the new IB guide talking extensively about inclusion of culture in ESL and in education in general, let's see what is our take on a culturally relevant pedagogy. What does it mean to us? What do we think about these three words put together? What does this collection mean to us? Culturally relevant pedagogy. What possibly could this mean in our own definition? I'm not going to move you again to another platform. Let's use the chat box and answer. Or if you want to verbally put it, please raise your hand. Yes, yes, sir, please. Mr. Devinder, I think you are on mute.
I'm muted. Sorry. So just now I just defined I combined two definitions. One is of mine and I just took it some from the message box. Exactly the same thing is coming up here. Like you are having the methodology that you are using, the teaching methodology that you are using is being impacted by the culture in which you are doing it. For example, you have to take into consideration the culture that in which you are actually teaching. If we can modify our teaching methodology according to the culture, it will be more effective to the child. Because like for example, I to my team, DP team, I always say if we can use the mother tongue, that will be more effective than using a second language. So when we see every time if anything is taught in mother tongue, that the child can go deep into that one. So that is culturally relevant pedagogy that we can use, and that's why IB always focuses more on mother tongue. So this is the new terms are coming up, but having the same taste. There's no difference. Yeah. So that I feel from these three words that you are having culturally relevant pedagogy. A very big word, pedagogy. It's not easy to define actually. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your insight, sir. I think you have kind of summed it up for me, where I wanted to just discuss how culture is playing a role in ESL. Beautifully said that, yes, we often take, the help of mother tongue. We often try to reach out because it's our first language to really develop all those concepts and all the understanding and all the skills for students. And that is often very helpful. And because it's related to their culture, they can identify what they are learning, they can relate to it, and they can use it for their real life, the world outside their classroom. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to take in a couple more from here. Culturally free and fair, all cultures are respected. Respecting everyone, accepting and developing empathy. Methodology to merge with setting. Accepting everyone as they are and empower them to bring out their best potential. That's beautiful. Teachers being aware of cultural competence and socio-political consciousness. That's great. Ms. Meena, what would you say?
Ma'am, the responses are varied, but all on the same point. That we are talking about how we need to empower our students by understanding them better, and by for that we need to know the social, political, emotional, all contexts in order to meet the needs of the students. So I love the responses here.
Definitely. Okay, I would just move on now, and most of the responses sort of highlighted the importance of a culturally responsive curriculum and the growing need for it. Let's look at what role this curriculum actually plays in the education system. We have talked extensively about what it does, and I mean, it's easy to understand once we try to relate it with our practices and what exactly is happening in our classroom when we are including this, element of culture. Why we need a culturally relevant pedagogy. Undoubtedly, a culturally responsive curriculum makes the students more harmonious and tolerant towards different cultures and their practices. With the just going back a bit on IB mission statement, where we all are really striving to make our students realize and accept what the world is like today and move forward to create a peaceful, more peaceful world for everyone. I think this can be achieved, or at least attempted to achieve, with a culturally responsive curriculum. Learners, by acknowledging and learning about different cultures, put the stepping stone for a more peaceful world. They get opportunities for personal truth making, and this one is my favorite, and engage in critical thinking. I think in one of the PDs that I attended earlier, there was this question how students, can know or can learn to just differentiate between what is correct and what is wrong, what is true and what is fake. And with all the inclusion of social media and all sorts of news we hear from everyone, all the discussions we have in our groups, I think this is one of the most important skills we need our students to have. Uh, just to help them support their own personal truth making and to be able to critically think and evaluate, assess all the situations around them. The students get opportunities for personal truth making, and a multicultural curriculum allows the much needed space for reflective thinking and growth and exposes the students to a reservoir of cultural insight. Uh, Having talked about this, I was actually confused when I went through this whole section in the guide, thinking that what exactly am I expecting to see in my students when I say that, okay, my curriculum or whatever I have designed for my class, my activities, my lectures, everything is multicultural. What change do I expect to see in my students? Is it something that is content related? Is it something that they learn and they learn to speak and talk about it? Or is it some sort of a skill that they develop over time and they can use it later on? Or is it a change in their behavior or in their morals and values that shows in the classroom and probably outside the school and in at their home as well? So, what exactly do I expect to see with the change that I'm going to bring in my curriculum? Which brings me to this question: where does multicultural education fit? Just thinking about it again, I would just like to see where do you see the entry point to multicultural education in this picture? Again, there is a link on in the chat box, and the code is the same 2124875. I would encourage everyone to please click on this link and enter this code and register your responses. Also, you can always raise your hand and talk about it. Where does multicultural education fit? Ms. Veena, I would ask for your help again here because it still doesn't show on the screen.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just refreshing my screen. I'm looking for our responses, and I will be with you. This is taking a while. Nelson Mandela had once said, ma'am, that he dreams of a multicultural society, one that is diverse and where man, women, child, everyone's treated equally. And I really like his thought.
That does fit here.
While we wait for responses.
Mhm. I have one here, diverse perspectives leading to the same objective or goal. Okay. Mr. Manish, I would like to invite you for a little discussion here. So, with diverse perspectives leading to the same objective or goal, where exactly do you see it fitting? Is it something connected with content or with skills or morals, values, behavior?
I think I was just directing it towards the content and the skills which are learned in the classes through different activities.
Okay. So there's one, content and skills. Okay. Developing international mindedness, wherein our learners have a shared responsibility towards society. Thank you so much. This is a beautiful response.
So, ma'am, here in the Mentimeter, I can see that a lot of people feel that the entry point can be from all four areas, not just one area that we've asked them to choose out of, but all four areas can be an entry point.
Oh, that's beautiful. I would like to hear how this all the four work. How does this work? If anyone could share.
Someone has also shared a nice quote here, and it is that it takes a village to raise a child, and the world is the new village. So, yes, I guess we all are a part of this village, which is multicultural.
This is beautiful. Okay, maybe one more minute here. Would anyone want to elaborate all the four? How is all the four working out for them? Okay, there's one more. The connect begins with the content. In the present scenario, the students need to be guided to take pragmatic opinions. Okay. It fits in our behavior, morals, and values, which help us accommodate everyone, irrespective of our differences. That's great. Including students from all cultures to develop acceptance and inclusion. Okay. Content can be multicultural by exposing learners to texts from various countries, inclusion of folk tales. That's beautifully said. Yes. Okay, moving on, I am just going to share a video here. Thank you everyone for your participation. Thank you so much. These are some really great inputs and a great collaboration going on here. I'm going to play a video here, but I'm not going to play it full because it's a bit long. I'm just going to play the first 5 minutes, and then we are going to have a little discussion about what we think about the suggestions that are given by the speaker in this video. Do we agree with it? Do we not? That's what we are going to decide on next. So here we go.
So it's important for me to say that I'm here as a parent guardian from the Denver Public Schools, and I just want to thank the organizers for inviting
a parent voice into this venue. I really appreciate the opportunity. I also just accepted a job with the Adams 14 school districts. I got to do a little shout out for Adams 14. You know, most TED Talks talk about a new idea or a big idea. I'm talking about a really old idea. It's been around for decades. I'm talking about multiculturalism. We were talking about it in 1978, and we're still talking about it today. Because it's been around for such a long time, it can mean different things to different people. So I want to talk about some multicultural practices that I'm not talking about today. I am not talking about food and festivals or heroes and holidays. Okay, these sorts of things can be really fun. They're very easy to do. And if they're authentic to the cultures that are represented in our school, they can be really fun community builders. But they also come with some risks. One of the things that I see a lot out here is I see things on the school menu. We'll have tacos in celebration of Cinco de Mayo. We'll have fried chicken for Martin Luther King Day. We'll have soul food on the menu during Black History Month. And again, these sorts of things can be fun, but they also run the risk of sort of reinforcing stereotypes. And they also run the risk of trivializing things that are really, really quite important. So how many people here think most of your students have heard of Cinco de Mayo? Right? And so if y'all had, I use y'all as a gender neutral pronoun, if y'all had tacos on your menu as your students are biting into that taco, are they thinking about Mexican resistance to French occupation? Is that what they're thinking about? No. So it runs the risk of sort of trivializing something that is actually quite important. Oops, can you go back one? I'm also not talking about something we do a lot in early childhood classrooms, which is when we bring in stories from all over the world, right? Kind of that folklore and sort of fables approach. Again, this is something that's really easy to do. It's also a way to kind of ensure that our children, our diverse children in a classroom, see somebody who looks like them and what they're reading in the classroom. It's a really easy thing to do. But I want to remind everybody that the value of multicultural content is not just about where a story comes from. It's also about the messages that the story relays to the reader. Last year in her second grade literacy class, my daughter was reading a multicultural anthology. One of the stories that was included in that anthology was a story called The Selkie Girl, which is a traditional Celtic tale. And if I were to summarize this story, it's basically about a man who gets obsessed with a magical seal woman. So I'm going to read one paragraph from this story. He went to look in wonder and delight. He saw 3 beautiful girls sitting on the rocks, naked, combing their hair. One of the girls had fair hair, one red and one black. The fair-haired girl was singing. She was the most beautiful of the 3, and he could not take his eyes from her. He gazed and gazed at her gleaming white body. Okay, this was my daughter's response to that story. I would say it was my response as well. So when you are using sort of the stories from around the world approach, remember that the messages matter. The messages of the story matter as much as where the stories come from. To be fair to my child, this is what Zoe looks like happy. Okay, so if I'm not talking about food and festivals or heroes or holidays or folklore and fables, what am I talking about? I am talking about the kind of the kind of multiculturalism that's characterized by 3 basic things. It is rigorous in terms of content and instruction. Very rigorous. It supports all that skill building we're so concerned about. It also is designed, particularly with instruction, to advance students' pro-social capacities. And that's a big phrase that just means our students can look at issues from multiple points of view, and they can work collaboratively in diverse groups. That's what pro-social proficiencies are. And the third thing that the kind of multiculturalism that I'm talking about does is that it advances social justice. Let's talk about that term for a second.
Okay, I am going to stop this video right here, and I'm hoping that you found this video as relevant as I did. We have stopped here because Jen goes on to answer the question that I'm going to ask. And I'm sure many of us are guilty of missing the point in identifying with the purpose of multicultural events. We go on, an extra mile to organize only because somewhere we know that they might not be impacting our students the way we would have wanted them to. By these multicultural events, I'm not only talking about events that we organize in the school, but also the ones that we organize as activities, maybe taking our students out for a museum walk, or maybe for a gallery walk sometimes. I'm really eager to find out what you think about this. Please refer to the link here in the chat box. Ms. Meena will be putting in a second, or raise your hand to answer this prompt. With reference to Jen's suggestions for multicultural teaching, please share an example to show the extent of multicultural knowledge, skills, and values in your teaching. How do you see multicultural education from your point of view, your opinion? On the screen, I have just put the 3 suggestions that Jen has talked about in the video: rigorous academically, content and instruction wise, advances pro-social proficiency, and advances social justice and critical thinking. How do you see these aims or these objectives being achieved in your practice in the classroom? You could raise your hand, or you could just follow the link and share here in the Padlet. The instructions and the suggestions by Jen are there in the Padlet as well. So if you want to give it a minute and think about it and write in the Padlet, please go ahead. To enter a new post, you just have to click on this plus button at the right hand side bottom, and you can enter your response. Or you could raise your hand and we could talk about this, or you could write in the chat box if you want. Okay, we can see some responses coming in. Okay, comparative study of diversified texts. This will help learners to look at things from different, I'm guessing it's perspective. Okay. Okay, that's a good idea. Comparative study of diversified texts. So the example that Jen gave about a Celtic tale being, used as a content in a classroom, and because it was only given by from the perspective of one single person, as a sort of a tunnel view, this definitely led to multiple reactions, all of them not positive, because probably the students did not feel included. They did not feel the same about that particular situation. Okay, talking about the different festivals celebrated in different cultures, definitely. Talking about their background, their importance, the practices, their impact. Definitely a very good idea. Habits and rituals of each one from different culture. Maybe one more minute we can take. Okay, I have a very beautiful response here in the chat box. In the PYP, action comprises of social justice, wherein learners take part in relation to rights, equality and equity, social well-being and justice. So any initiative taken to raise awareness in a particular context. Definitely. Okay, maybe we could take one more. Role play rituals. That's an exciting idea. That's an exciting activity as well for the students. Traditions. I'm actually thinking, Ms. Veena, I think you would be able to support me here. We were talking about role plays, some other time, and we were thinking how role plays can be very exciting when, well, we were just thinking on the gender level, where the female roles are given to the boys in the class to play, and the male roles are given to the girls in the class to play, just to see how they react to the situation and how they find the content and the context relatable or not. Uh, I think that was a very good discussion I and Messina had.
Yes, and I also feel that first of all, it kind of breaks the mental barrier where the students are in a class thinking we are here to learn English, we do not know English. That all kind of just blurs itself out, and you're focused on the role play. Plus, there's another challenge where you are supposed to play the role of the person of the opposite gender. So, in that process, I feel learning happens much more smoothly as compared to sitting down and learning things.
I definitely agree with you, Ms. Veena here. Definitely. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Thank you so much for your participation, everyone. These are some great thoughts, definitely. And they just give a fresh perspective, a good insight, a deep insight to the practice. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and talk about role of learning support here. And I would like to confess that my definition and understanding of learning support has definitely changed in the last couple of months. We often think that learning support is for students. Please excuse me if you do not share this view, but we often think that learning support is for students with special education needs, maybe, or students who are not doing really well in the classroom, in the activities, not interacting, or are going through some personal dilemma, some challenge back at home. Uh, I would like to just openly say it here that it is not nothing like that. It is just any other differentiation strategy. Learning support is what we provide to our students in an ESL classroom when we want to differentiate, when we want, a different student to do a task differently, or to look at a content piece, or to some activity in a different way. And what it does is that it ensures access is given to those who are highly marginalized or excluded for any reason. This could be the reason that the students are feeling challenged in any particular way. Maybe some personal dilemma is going on, or maybe they do not feel supported in any way. Maybe the friends, or from home, or whatever baggage they are carrying whenever they are entering the school. It also ensures that inclusion is concerned with the identification and removal of barriers. So whenever we go ahead and consider learning support for our students, we are looking at the barriers to learning, and then we are targeting those and trying to remove them and trying to ensure that the students are getting the support in the right areas, which helps them to perform better. Learning support ensures the presence, participation, and achievement of all students, all alike, not really targeting one particular group or one particular student, or looking for support in a certain kind of situation. It also ensures that inclusion is a process, and it is not just something that we do one fine day, or it is not something just we just mention somewhere, or we think about, or we just talk about it. It's a process where it begins from certain activities, and we taking up a role and planning it, and then it ends somewhere with achieving certain objectives and goals. Okay, next, I am just going to take a minute here and kind of reflect. Most of us, when we were really new to the profession, we were like new educators, new teachers, we really had an idea about what we expect from our job, what we want to do. We had certain motivation factor. We had something that we had, planned in our head. Okay, this is something I'm going to achieve while I'm in this profession. And suddenly we enter a school and we are laid down with expectations and different roles and different fields where we are interacting and working, and our colleagues and our seniors and our colleagues, our students. Somewhere I feel that these become two different spheres where our expectations kind of get sidelined a bit, and we take up the role of an educator of a particular school in a particular country. And over time, we tend to forget what was it that motivated us to take up this role in the first place. So with this paragraph, I am going to try and make it a situation for you where you try and think about your motivation and your current role, and just kind of merge these two spheres together and try to see what is the situation like, where we are now in terms of what we had expected years and years ago and what we are doing now. This is a very famous paragraph, actually, by Han Ginot, and it was from it's from a book that he wrote in 1995, and I'm just going to read it for you, and we can think about it after that. I have come to a frightening conclusion. I am the decisive element in the classroom. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de escalated, or a child humanized or dehumanized. We are just going to share a small link. I promise you this is the last one. It's the link to the reflection form. Please go ahead and fill up this reflection form and try to put in what you think about the merging of those two spheres and answer other questions over there. Ms. Weena will be sharing the link. Yes, it's right there. It's a Google form. Please go ahead and fill up that form. And we are ready for questions. If there's anything you want to ask me or you want to discuss, we can do it now. You can raise your hand to participate, or if not, this is where we conclude. Until next time.
There's a very beautiful thought in the chat box if you would.
Yeah, it reads, we're building future citizens of the world. They need to become humane and sensitive to preservation of environment. Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Mr. Rahul. Reminding again, we are open for questions and discussions. If you want to go ahead and talk about something, please raise your hand and we can talk about it. Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for your participation and for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Verlui, would you like to add something?
Miss Akanksha, just thought it was a wonderful sharing and it was very interesting to hear different perspectives on different things. And I hope we would have continuation of the same session later on, going deeper into different areas. Let's see participants living and then we would be able also to discuss further. Miss Akanksha.
Ma'am, I want to say sorry first if I have been.
You have been super, both of you. Love that. I couldn't wait for everyone to live to tell us. It was a wonderful session. Congratulations, you made it.
Thank you
ma'am.
so much, ma'am. Feels
It
so
was
nice.
really nice. And have you seen the chat section over this time? All these thank yous and appreciations? That means a lot. And very interestingly, a lot of international teachers today, both in the English literature and here, a lot of them. It was nice. Very good.
I think, ma'am, a special thanks is due to you and Miss Dahlia. And I think I'm naming Miss Dahlia as my angel who comes because she saved me this morning. Special thanks to both, ma'am. Thank you so much for the support.
Always welcome. Always welcome. It was really nice to see how much of effort was put into getting all these things together and how well it worked. Because it was not about just ESL, and it could involve a lot of other specialists, and they were really so super. Let me go quickly to mathematics, because they have already also started, but I just wanted to share with you this moment before going to them. Have a nice day.
Thank you
We'll
so much,
talk to you
ma'am.
later.
Thank you so much for allowing us and giving us this opportunity.